everyone, welcome back to another episode of Unfiltered, where we discuss politics, faith, and culture, and all things anti-feminism, since feminism is poisonous. Anyway, I'm your host, Kira Bolby, and let's get right into it. So today we are going to be reacting to an unreleased documentary by the Daily Caller, and this documentary is called Narcofornia. So Narcofornia, it discusses the problem of drug cartels in the state of California, and it also discusses the problem and issue of drug cartels when it comes to the local level of politics and how it affects constituents.
You have to understand our frustration that we have been going through this for years. Did you know that one of our citizens got attacked on her property, walking her dog by one of the pot growers' dogs? So when a stray bullet comes and hits one of my children or me, I swear to God, on a stack of Bibles, I will go out and I will.
Yeah, you can take marijuana, you can take water regulation, let's go down the line.
We have no allies in the state government.
So these people weren't moving in to live there, they were kind of colonizing.
It gets very hot here and it gets very cold at night.
So with that first clip, my reaction is it's really sad how our elected officials have basically neglected their constituents and serving their constituents, and elected officials have basically ignored these issues that these constituents in this community have been dealing with for years. And it's also really sad how it just kind of seems like the elected officials in this community are just kind of unfairly just leaving their constituents out to dry. Now, let's take a look at the second clip.
A rough estimate of how many cartel members are here right now?
Conservative estimate, 10,000.
10,000
Yeah,
people.
I'd say conservative estimate.
Just California.
Just in California.
They weren't just, the old hippie generation growing a few plants to maybe sell a little bit or use for personal consumption. These were organized crime groups, highly structured, well-funded, very aggressive, well-armed, in our forest all over California and other parts of the country.
Wingmaster, not a bad shotgun, and we found some live shells.
We had no idea how dangerous it was going to be that day because it was harvest time. The grow was much bigger than we thought, and my partner Warden was shot through both legs by an AK-47, bleeding out of 4 holes in his legs. And we waited 3 long hours to get him an air rescue, and he barely held on to his life to survive that ordeal. We were this close to losing him.
So the really interesting thing that I saw with the second clip is it's interesting if you think about it, how the mainstream media is not really talking about this. Politicians and elected officials are kind of ignoring this issue. And I am honestly hoping, and the reason why I want you guys to go out and watch this entire documentary when it does come out, is I'm hoping that this documentary can spread more awareness about this issue and how it is basically affecting constituents all over the country, not just in the state of California. Now, let's get on to the third clip.
We estimate that in the state of California, there's approximately 2,000 clandestine marijuana gardens that are DTO grows, basically cartel grows, on public lands.
We have an environmental crime, one that's incredibly egregious with this unregulated cannabis and what it's doing to the environment on these trespass grows. 25+% of the game wardens working in the state of California, approximately, are now assigned to cannabis enforcement teams because that's how much environmental crime, unregulated, indoor, on private property in hoop houses, outdoor hoop houses, or their trespass grows in the forest. All of that has environmental crime written into it.
Residual effects of poisons left in the garden. That bird right there probably hasn't died but a day or two ago, if that. Hunters and fishermen find more of this stuff than probably any other public entity out there besides law enforcement.
Honestly, reacting to that third clip, something that's really sad to see is you would think that the Democratic Party, the so-called environmentalists, would do everything in their power to spread light and shed light on this issue with how this unregulated cannabis is affecting the environment, but yet they're completely silent about this. And the mainstream media is pretty silent about this too. I wish more people would talk about this issue, because if you really want to fight to preserve and protect the environment, why is no one really talking about this? So that's why I'm glad that this documentary is doing that. Now, let's all take a look at the fourth clip.
After all, one of the most effective strategies for decreasing the illegal commercial cannabis activity is restricting the wasteful use of our precious water.
We're trying to put a stop to these non-potable water trucks delivering water for cannabis specifically.
The Hmong community is calling for justice and fighting for their water rights. Members of the community say their water usage is being restricted and the treatment is unfair.
The Hmong feel racially targeted by the county. Asian Americans comprise less than 3% of the county's population, but they were involved in 78% of cannabis cultivation citations. But the sheriff insists it has nothing to do with race.
It is not about race. We investigate, and we use drones, we drive by, we see that there's a greenhouse, that there's plants inside. We have no idea who the owner is. We get a search warrant, we execute the search warrant, and then if there are people here that are a certain skin color, so be it.
In the fourth clip, it was really interesting how they talked about the waste of water. And I think that the really cool thing that I liked about this documentary is it just sheds light on so many issues. And one of them that I've just never thought of before is, I always knew that drug cartels were an issue and a problem that we needed to solve nationally, etc. But I didn't honestly know how this was affecting or wasting our water. Now, before we basically get into the fifth clip from the documentary that I've selected to discuss in this video, I wanted to quickly pause this video by giving a shout out to our sponsors and our Patreon. So our Patreon is patreon.com/redlibertymedia, and you can definitely go and support us. It would actually really help us out. So you can continue seeing content just like the video that you are watching. And again, our Patreon is patreon.com/redlibertymedia. And also a shout out to our sponsor. Our sponsor is called I Want to Belt. It is a made in the USA company for leather belts. So please consider supporting our Patreon and also going to the links provided down below in the description box to check out our sponsor and our Patreon. But anyway, thank you guys so much for that brief intermission, and let's get right back into the video. Now, let's get into the fifth clip.
Like when we were driving by, we saw tons of cars and not possibly, there were Hmong people inside who were potentially growers here. Why was it not possible for you guys to stop the cars right then and there and make those arrests?
Well, because you have to be able to tie them to whatever property that you're talking about. And we have no reason to stop them. That would be just to stop them because they were near a marijuana grow. Like, I understand what you're saying, and
Isn't that like a pretty obvious loophole though? For them to take advantage of?
Yeah.
Because they have watchdogs everywhere, and we could tell while we were driving in, people calling each other on cell phones, asking them to evacuate.
It's very frustrating, but it's these are the rules that the Constitution dictates, and we kind of have to play by them.
So when it comes to reacting to the fifth clip, I thought an important thing to mention was when someone in the clip said, "Have you seen anyone go after the white cartels?" And honestly, I'm really sick of people talking about race all the freaking time. As an American citizen, if I have to follow the law, then you need to follow the law too. It does not matter what color you are, I'm sorry to say. So that was just a very interesting thing to hear. Now, let's get on to the sixth clip.
Sorry to say, I'm leaving this community and I'll be gone in 45 days.
We have these public safety threats and all these community folks feeling so scared, pissed off, and basically powerless. But we have the egregious environmental crimes too that we've been seeing all week.
That entity you call the State Water Board, they're gonna shut my butt down over the chemicals that are in the water because of all those illegal grows.
Water is being stolen in massive amounts by all these unregulated growers, and we're in our second largest drought in 100 years of California's history right now.
Where are they getting the water? All you have to do is drive around up there and look. Well drillers are going wild.
So with that sixth clip, the really interesting thing is that water is being stolen in massive amounts by all of these unregulated growers. And I can see how this makes the constituents in this area feel powerless and very angry because literally nothing is being done to stop this. Now let's get on to the 7th and final clip.
This is an irrigation pond. The end of the irrigation season, the water was up to the bottom of the tules. We have not had enough moisture or rain to maintain any water. All our water systems come off of that mountain.
So with that 7th and final clip, the really interesting thing is, and the thing that made me sad, is that there has basically not been enough moisture because the illegal growers are sucking it all up. So water is everything. I mean, water is super important. And if you're paying for the water, you should get what you're paying for. And it's really sad to see that the people who are paying for those resources, they're not getting them, or they're afraid that they're not even going to get them. And honestly, I'm hoping that changes. But anyway, that's all for me. Please make sure that you like, comment, and subscribe to Red Liberty Media's YouTube channel. Also, make sure that you check the description links down below in the description box, where you can find more information about how to participate in our Patreon. You can learn more about our sponsor, I Want a Belt, and you can also keep up to date with me on social media. You can follow me on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook and Truth Social by just clicking the links down below. I have information on all of that in the description box down below, so please visit the description box after you watch this video. Anyways, my name is Kira Bowlby. I am your host of Unfiltered, and again, thanks for tuning in. And from New Mexico, God bless and take care.